Hey guys, welcome. Muskie Road Rules Podcast, episode number 221. Guys, thanks for listening. Happy New Year. First podcast of the new year. It's here the first week of January, and you know what? We got a lot of stuff getting ready to happen here with the Muskie shows and everything. But tonight's podcast is brought to you by Muskie Innovations. Guys, Muskie Innovations, they make a ton of stuff, whether it be the original Bulldogs to the Shallow Invaders, and a couple different sizes, the new swimming dogs that they really, really like, and also the Dying Dog jerk baits. They've got a ton of different stuff. Check them out at muskieinnovations.com. And remember to text us on our Lunge and Lures text line at 606-776-6570. Again, that's 606-776-6570. Lunge and Lures text line. Makers of a ton of cool crankbaits and spinners. Find them at lungeandlures.com. They've also got their new custom show colors up there available right now to purchase as well. I'm your host, Gregg Thomas, and on the line right now I've got Austin Wiggerman, and I've got Jim Stella from the PMTT. How you doing, guys?
Doing good, Greg. How are you doing? How's it going, Austin?
I'm doing. Been an interesting start to the season, but I'm doing good tonight.
Oh, what does that mean? Interesting start to the season.
Oh, just it's been a whirlwind of emotions first few days of the season. Bunch of pretty interesting, traumatic, life altering / thankfulness moments happening, which, it's been a crazy start to the season. We'll leave it at that.
I get it. I've had plenty of those myself. I'm actually setting up in the northwest angle right now at the place I ended up getting up here and fixing it up, getting ready for to rent it VRBO. And
so you released the news?
Yes, I did. Yes,
I didn't get the press release.
You didn't get the press release? No, I haven't sent an email out yet, but we're about got it finished. Hopefully I'll have it done here in the next 3 or 4 days and have it ready to rent, and everything will be all good to go. You can find it on VRBO or Airbnb, and or you can just shoot me a message personally, and we can get you set up. Cool little place about 4 miles from Young's Bay. Sleeps about 5 people. And,
Greg, I got a question for you on that, though.
Sure.
You got any big spiders in that place, or is that one clean?
No. Well, actually, I don't know. They're not. It's too cold for spiders right now. It hasn't gotten above 20 degrees since I've been here. But, you liked that big spider in Kentucky, didn't you?
Yeah, you could have caught that thing in a damn raccoon track. It was so big.
We got big spiders down there. I'm sure there's some dandies here. We did have one come crawling out of the oven night before last that when we turned it on, I think got a little too hot for him. But I think we're good to go. I think it's all the critters have been taken care of.
That's good.
Oh, I like staying with him up in Mille Lacs in one of the ice shanties where we had to put like boards over the ice holes to keep the mice out, and they're like overpowering. We're putting boots on top of the boards, and they're still knocking them down and coming in. You can hear them all night long.
That's
they're throwing stuff.
Critters.
Yeah.
I'm like a Dr. Doolittle. I just
and then you look up and there's 12 spiders over your head.
That was at Mille Lacs.
It's always fun.
That was 20 years ago, Jim. There's only 4 spiders over my head when I'm doing something. So
I want to see that sequel. Greg is Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, I would be good. I could have all kinds of pets and critters and all kinds of stuff going wrong. I guarantee you that I could make that happen.
Trisha's cat,
yes, me and that cat. It's the only time I've ever been woken up getting peed on by a cat. But
oh my God.
I mean, it did make eye contact though. It was staring me down while it was doing it, so I think it was personal. It was definitely a personal.
With you, it definitely was personal.
It was personal. It was super vindictive. But what's going on, Jim? It sounds like you said you're at bourbon night tonight. You're gonna have some little noise in the background.
Yeah, I'm at my buddy's garage, and we're all sampling bourbon, so we all get together and bring some bottles over and just have fun. I sent you a picture of our table.
Nice.
There's about, God, there's got to be at least 15 bottles on the table with a Pappy's 15 here too. So that's always a epic pour.
See, now that would be lost on me because I think it all tastes like poison.
Talk to Nathan. Nathan knows what I'm talking about.
I know, but it sounds. I mean, it just. Is that your knee? Are you wearing shorts?
I'm in shorts. Yes, that was my knee.
No, well, I'm sorry.
I'm naked, actually.
So it was a dirty picture?
Yeah.
Yes, it's all above the knee shots. He's
Yeah,
wearing
it's,
those shorts that your gym teacher used to wear in the 80s.
We're going back to Valentine's Day at Milwaukee Muskie Show.
Exactly.
What was that, like 7 years ago?
Yeah,
we won't talk about that story.
That was an experience, but no, it looks like you guys are having quite the night. But now, since we've talked the last time, Jim, you did say that the last time you said the third event had not been released. Has the third event been released to the PMTT?
It has, yes. All events now have been released. So the third event is at Lake Vermilion.
Lake Vermilion. My
So,
favorite.
and we were originally going there back in August, but you know how lax Tim is with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a bunch of new stuff going on this year in the muskie world, tournament world. A lot of, there's a new Minnesota circuit. I think Messincomer's doing a mega. And now everybody is going to Vermilion, and we were almost like last in line there, so we were working our dates to try and find when we were going, because of course we didn't put anything in early because we never do.
I get it. So to let everybody know, when are the dates for that? Isn't it like the second weekend in August?
Yeah, I'll go over them all again. So the first one again, Cave Run, April 29th and 30th. Then Madison Chain, June 10th and 11th. Then we've got Vermilion on August 18th and 19th. And again, that's a Friday, Saturday, because between, Memorial Day and Labor Day, you can't have 2 weekend days for a tournament in Minnesota. And then the championship, the Recon Boats World Championship, is back where it all started, because this is our 25th year. And the first tournament we ever had in '99 was on the Chippewa Flowage, so we're going back to Lake Chippewa Flowage for our championship.
Well, that's pretty.
And that's
pretty cool.
That's going to be September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th.
Sure. Well, that'll be pretty awesome. They're getting back on the chip, and it sounds like the Madison Chain is going to be the one I think is going to be interesting. Being early in the year like that, the Eagle River's not happening. Austin, have you fished Madison Chain?
Oh yeah. I've spent a decent amount of time out there. That's kind of one of those spots that I hit, as the first few years getting into the sport, and in recent times I've kind of neglected it a bit. It's in the in between zone for driving, and don't really have a convenient place to stay there. So it was but I've probably, last year was the first year, this last year, I guess it's a new year now, was probably the first year that I haven't gotten out there for at least a few days in the early season.
Now tell me this, are you going to do the PMT this year, or I know you did it last year?
I really don't know yet. I feel similar, I feel on your level in this recent time with not knowing where I'm going, what I'm doing, where I'm fishing. So I'm kind of up in the air as of right now.
Okay. Well, then tell us a little bit about last year. It was your first year fishing the PMT, right?
Yep, first year.
All right. So how, for somebody that's thinking about doing it, or thinking about getting involved with it and going and doing the trail, what kind of advice would you have for them? What kind of, how would you explain it to somebody?
Well, number one, I think it was an absolute giant learning experience that made me overall a better fisherman and also a better guide. Just in general, I think for anybody that's thought about doing it and hasn't done it yet, it's absolutely worth your while. But advice to succeed would certainly be to do as much research as possible on all of the events and locations that they're being held at for that time of year, and you automatically have a starting point for any of your pre-fishing. As last year, as you said, was the first year that I had fished it, and that was also the first year I'd fished Cave Run, Eagle River, and Leech. So all of those first three locations I'd never stepped foot on prior to pre-fishing. So I'm kind of a musky nerd, so I spent probably way too many hours looking up every past fish caught and what baits they were on, and any information on any YouTube video on where guys were at, and just kind of went down there and spent as much time as I could possible pre-fishing, and then went from there. But it was it's amazing. It was an eye-opening experience, just in the sense that, you know, people always say there's always a bite, there's a million different ways to get the job done, and it's so true. I think the hardest thing for me, mental-wise, was the fact that I feel like when I get on the water, whether I'm fun fishing or I'm guiding, I'm somewhat patterning or attempting to catch big fish. Now that, of course, can be client dependent, but switching the mindset towards the numbers game, as that's really what gets the job done in these tournaments, was a little bit of a tougher switch for me. I'm a bigger bait guy. I'm a kind of rather catch two fish of large size than a bunch of little ones. So it was a lot of just learning and going through, you know, how you get it done from tournament start to tournament end. And I think it was tremendous for me overall to improve me as an angler and a guide, like I said, and it really forced me to do things that I wouldn't originally do, and also got me on a bunch of new water that I think for some reason over the years, when you have less preconceived notions and history on, you kind of just fish what you found, and that's what I've seen over the years of fishing new water. You know, I have pretty dang good success on new fisheries right out of the gates, and as time goes on, you kind of have periods of like, why am I not succeeding? But you go back and you learn from things like the PMTT that, hey, when you go into every day with a fresh mindset and you only know what you know, it seems like things end up more successful or more productive than fishing memories and things along those lines.
Sure. No.
And I can tell you, definitely listen to what he says here, because for his first year on the trail, I believe you guys came in 4th overall.
Yep.
And what, you had a 3rd place at Eagle River.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, you know, what he says, it really paid off for them.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I couldn't, you know, to start the year, and when I figured out I was fishing it, and I wrote down in my goal thing, make the championship, right? And after the first tournament in Cave Run, it was, and we all knew and know how tough the bite was during and somewhat leading up, that we didn't catch a fish pre-fishing. We lost one almost every day, and then kind of lost one each day during the tournament hours. And then by the end of the trail and through the championship, you realize how important 130-inch fish in that first tournament would have been.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, well, we would have taken the cake. So it was an exciting way to look back and go, wow, we're that close, but I met my goal to make it to the championship, and it was a blast, honestly. The whole competing against all these great, incredible fishermen, and it was awesome.
No, that's yeah, and I like what you said, because I catch myself doing that, especially when I'm depending on what body of water I'm at, you kind of get lulled.
You overdo it. You get too much into your head.
Oh, come on, Jim. That's not. My head's a wonderful place.
Yeah, I've been in the boat with Gregg where he's dry heaving out the back of the boat because he can't understand a plateau that's coming up but isn't showing on the map.
That doesn't sound like Gregg.
I would struggle. Jim, I wasn't medicated then. Okay? They make good drugs for that.
We got things dialed in now.
Oh gosh, I'm perfect, laser focused. The thing is with once you fish a body of water so much and you've done it for so long and during the same times of year and stuff, I think you kind of forget. I love tournaments because when new people come down, you kind of learn different. Again, there's a fish biting every second of every day. You just got to figure it out. And I think that really helps in finding patterns and finding what things are going on. And sometimes you just got to get out of your own way to put fish in the boat or to figure out the pattern that's going to put you up there. And it's a bear sometimes. I mean, Jesus, a lot of years doing it. It's one of those things.
I will tell you though, you have come up with some just incredible out of the box stuff. Detroit River, with just that current and knowing that you had to get down and hit structure, a rock or something like that.
Hitting the bottom.
But I mean, if you made a pass over it and you didn't hit it, you weren't getting a fish. So he'd line up again and go back over it again and know that he had to hit that rock.
And it also,
he had to have it down
current,
enough to trigger that fish.
And because of current, you couldn't go the same speed going downstream as you did up. You had to vary your speed to get the bait to run the same depth.
Greg, are some of those videos on YouTube on that?
No, none of mine are. I've got so much stuff that I haven't put out there that I need to. But
I feel that.
But no, I know. Well, like what Jim was telling there, that particular tournament was the fish were just holding so tight to the bottom because of the current being so swift, and that was that's John Bondi's territory where the Bondi bait's made, and the reason he made it was to keep a bait close to the bottom, and the thing was there was just I was trolling. This is years ago before I even owned a Bondi bait, and now I've got more than I even. God knows how many I've got.
I was hitting some other big structure.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Good for you. Now, people say we have too many inside jokes here on this. I've had some people texting me. That was in the bar, Jim. That was not in the river.
But it was a big structure.
It was very big structure. It was very big structure. Oh, God. Yeah, I remember that night. Austin, so like your first year fishing it, which lake, of the three that were new, so you said Cave Run, Eagle River, and so all three qualifiers you'd never been to, right?
Yep.
Okay. So of those three, what was the hardest and what was I'm not going to say any of them are easy, but the most comfortable, okay, as far as you felt the most comfortable with?
Well, that's a good question. I would say the second that I pulled into the Cave Run launch to head over to your place, I was like, it just doesn't, the landscape, the vibe for everything that I've ever experienced muskie fishing and everywhere that I've went, it was like, it felt like a different planet. Like you didn't have the look across the lake and have the vibe that even if you had no idea what was under the water, that there would be a muskie spot somewhere over there. It was like, where in the heck could these fish possibly be? Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like the muskie vibe. Granted, after fishing it, you quickly realized that there are muskies down there and it's just muskie fishing, but the vibe of that kind of threw me off for the beginning. But I'll say that the Cave Run thing, the history of the events there, the history of productive people has been fairly simple, and I kind of just spent the majority of time learning the quality historical locations and then attempted to branch from there. So the decision making there was probably the easier portion of it. But the hardest thing Well, that one was the hardest. So whether I said it was easy or not, but what I thought was the easiest, I thought was going to be Eagle River and Three Lakes. We spent like 3/4 of a day on Three Lakes, and I wanted to fish that simply because I figured there'd be less numbers of people, and it fits the way that Sam and I fish, our style of fishing, clear water, deeper water, rubber, whatever deep water bait fish kind of suspended bite there should have been, and there was. That fits our style a heck of a lot better than the Eagle River chain. But we then went and spent half a day on Eagle River, and we found one fish that was probably 30 inches. We didn't see a single fish on Three Lakes, and then actually that's false. We saw a few little ones, but then on Thursday, Friday, whatever the day of the rules meeting was, I was going to go back out on Eagle River and try to find some more spots and some more fish, essentially. And when I went to launch my boat, the like the little Y arm that holds up the nose of your boat, I could not get my boat off of my trailer for the life of me. And I'm like, there's no fucking straps. I swore. Oops, I don't know.
We encourage it.
Oh, good.
That's it. Nope, we're shut down now.
I'm surprised it took me this long. But yeah, there's no damn straps on this thing. I'm pulling in and out of the lake. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And long story short, the weld that holds that piece of the trailer up ended up basically breaking, and the boat was just lodged, and that thing was on like a 45-degree angle on the front of my trailer. So I was like, okay, this is not good. So when I pulled off and I called everywhere, I ended up dropping it off at Otto's and got it fixed, but I wasn't able to spend any more time on the water. But before I got off the night before, I had marked two spots, or one spot that had a handful of fish on it, and the other spot that we had seen the low 30s was all I had. And that was all we had to go off of for the whole tournament. And I was like, well, as confident as I was in putting fish in the boat on a numbers fishery, I had zero confidence essentially going into those days, knowing that there's going to be people that are catching fish. There's plenty of fish to be caught. And we had no real, we had nothing to go off of essentially beyond two spots. And we just stuck to those spots, and somehow the way it lined up was first spot that we had that low 30s, basically the same waypoint. We moved the first fish we got, which was like 43 something, and spun around, and Sam caught it on a walk the dog, and then we fished it a little bit longer, and then I said, well, we're in the major, let's go ahead to the other spot. And we drove through channel and pulled up, and there was about 5 boats in the area, but none were on the waypoint. And I joked to Sam, I go, so they're just going to let me pull right on up to the waypoints, eh? And I had found this spot after Sam I had dropped him off at the launch because he had to go back and work for one day down in Wausau. And so we pull up, and he's like, what is it? I'm like, oh, it's just a little weed point, and 5 casts in, caught a 42 and whatever that one was on walk the dog, and we were sitting pretty happy campers after the first day until we figured out how many fish had been caught by the other boys. But it was funny because you go in with no confidence, and you catch 2 quality fish, and then you go in with a bunch of confidence and don't get one in the boat. But that's the sport in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, and it's also having the right partner. You guys come up with game plans like that. My partner's game plan was, well, since you took 6th place fishing by yourself and you got drunk the night before, we're going to go out and get drunk tonight. And that's how we're going to do good in this
if it ain't broke,
tournament.
Don't fix it.
Yeah.
He believes in the hangover helper.
Yes. Yes.
Which oh God, I don't even like that anymore.
Yeah. And so Greg calls me on the phone because he was going nuts at that championship, and he's like, he wanted spots. He couldn't catch fish. He was suicidal. He was burning everything he had. And then he's all mad at me during the tournament because we're on a spot that I didn't tell him about. Then he's like, what's Ty doing on the back of the boat? And then Ty starts puking. He's like,
I see what he's doing.
I'm like, now you know what he's doing. And
now
then
he's
right
chumming.
after that, he catches a 46 and a half.
Yeah,
So you need to chum the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What? Hey, Austin, how was Leech for you guys? It's first time had you ever been on water that big before?
Oh yeah. I've fished St. Clair a handful of trips and a bunch of big water, but what was crazy about Leech, and to me, it feels like Minnesota to me. It feels more simplistic that I'm confident in my decision making there. I think that's the best way to put it. But basically, we had a full week of pre-fishing, or 5 days, 6 days, whatever it may be, and we just went to cover water and fish what the classic pattern or patterns of history had supposedly been or should be, and we grinded for a while and covered a shitload of water, and we had got some information from buddies and tips and some advice, and basically everything that we ended up doing with all of that pre-fishing for the first half was basically useless. Useless in the fact that we didn't find any fish, so we kind of marked that off the list. And finally we went, well, the bite up here has not been as good as it should be. The way that we just fished is what should be working. Let's just go do what we want to do, essentially. And we just went and we actually stumbled upon, accidentally, pulling out of a spot that we had been, advised towards. We found a big, giant, sandgrass flat. And it was just, I don't even remember the name of it. It had a hilarious name. And when I told people that's where we were at, they're like, I've never even heard of it. But we stumbled upon this sandgrass flat, and that's what we do a ton of fishing around and up in northern Wisconsin. And it just had bait. It had a ton of muskies on it, and we probably only probably spent really like an hour fishing it. And between that spot and one other small section with some deep weeds and some sandgrass, that was the only two places we could mark fish on side imaging and get a few follows. And we said, all right, well, we know the conditions for the first day is going to be awful, flat calm, dead sunny, essentially just like the pre-fishing. Nothing's going to change pattern-wise, and we stuck to it, and we got the 47 really pretty quickly in the morning, and then I caught a giant walleye a few casts before that, which actually pissed me off because the GoPro didn't restart after that, so we got the walleye on film, but not my fish. And then after the release of mine, Sam's first cast had about the twin of that fish try to eat at the boat, and had a few other little bit of action for the rest of that day, and then we stuck to it the second day, and I regret it, because the second day's conditions were exactly what kicks off that bite that should have been throughout the whole week, and we kind of stuck to our area, and we had one shot, and that was it. But granted, the guys that took it home kind of hammered the field. So, but it would have been nice to get another top 10. That's for sure. That's what I was grinding for.
Sure.
Yeah, and that can be a tough one at times, because I've been in tournaments like that too, where you get successful the first day, and then you think it's gonna carry over, and then the next day, when do you make the decision to change it up? Because going back to Bemidji, Ty and I, we had 2 fish the first day. We stuck with the pattern the second day, didn't get anything. Mr. Thomas here, who was suicidal the first day, couldn't catch anything, changed his pattern and figured, I think, this side of the lake is going into turnover, and he went up shallow and, got that 54 and got another fish, and,
that's always the debate.
Taking the trophy home.
Yep.
Yeah.
How quickly do you change that pattern? And we experienced that during the championship too, with the 3-day event thing, because we were on fish really good, and we were on really big fish throughout the pre-fishing. And the first day of the championship, we got one fish in the boat and lost another, and had seen a bunch of others. And then conditions continued to change throughout the weekend. And the first fish I saw the second day, I said, that fish was coming to the boat way faster and way more horizontally than coming up from deep and eating the way that they had been eating for us and acting for us. And I went, their mood's definitely changing. And that was the first spot that we had hit after probably fishing a good 6 hours of the second day. And I think we made that transition a little too late, because second day produced, the most fish, and everybody that seemed to struggle the first day got it done the second day. And that's exactly a big part of the whole learning experience of the tournament fishing thing. It was mind blowing to see those decision making and what actually goes into, staying consistent through each day of the tournament.
Yeah, that's a big thing there. Jim, what I know you got some stats together for me. What were you able to find out?
Yes, so Greg gave me a homework assignment today.
I'm good at that.
And he wanted me to go over PMTT stats. So I went through the history, since it's our 25th year coming up this year. And we have fished on 127 bodies of water, some of those multiple times. No, not different. But now, that would include something like Eagle River and Three Lakes, which is like really 44 different frickin' lakes,
sure.
Or something like that, But I didn't break it out that way. I just put it down for Eagle River and that. So that would be the multiples. The unique is 40 unique different waters.
Okay.
In 11 states and territories of Canada, 11 different states and territories of Canada. How many muskies do you think have been caught in the entirety of the 24 years of the PMTT?
Ugh. I don't know. We've broke 1,000, haven't we?
Yes. And this isn't even counting our little regional that we did there for a little bit either. This is just PMTT. 3,600. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, say that again. I was going to guess like 16,000.
Oh, yeah, I wish. No, 3,638 muskies.
Wow, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, our best year was actually 2018 with 262 muskies caught. And that's where we set a record with Lake St. Clair with 111 muskies. Eagle River was kind of small that year with only 41. Cave Run had 18. Tippecanoe, though, had 68. And then we also had a mega that year on Vermilion with 24 muskies.
Well, the Webster chain and Webster and those 3 lakes plus St. Clair, that was a lot of fish.
Yeah. We've had 3 teams that have tied for the most fish caught. So 3 separate teams have caught 10 fish in an event before. And then our biggest fish is also caught solo. I believe Corey was fishing by himself. And that was in 2015, I think. It was on Vermilion.
Yeah, it was 15.
With a 57.5, which he had to lay down on the bunk board and then stand up and take a picture because he's by himself. So, I mean, this thing is easily, you pinch the tail, you're over 58. So this thing was 57.5 inches. And do you know what place he came in?
I remember this. Wasn't it like 18th place?
Yes, 18th place with a 57.5. But he broke the previous record held by me, who had a 50-incher and didn't even make the top 10. I came in 11th place with a 50-incher. So I was glad to have that record taken away from me.
Yeah, I remember that year being nuts. And that was like really the beginning of me getting into the sport. And I remember that year's results for Vermilion being insane.
Yeah. And the surprising thing, in going over all this stuff, I got to turn it here. The thing that surprised me the most for the fish catches, I thought some of the earlier years might be up there more because, we had 4 qualifiers in the championship. But those earlier years are down towards the bottom.
But we had
like
less anglers.
Our best. No, in that we had 150 anglers.
No, but I mean,
if you remember.
We weren't full every tournament and stuff
No,
like
but
that.
you want to know the wild thing, though? Because when we were doing the 150 anglers, and then we moved down to the 125, because we were always like around, 118, 120. So we were like, let's move down to 125 and we'll fill up. What we ran into was the same percentage. So the same percentage that we had at 150, we had at 125 because we still weren't filling.
Okay.
So it's weird how that percentage kind of stayed. But like some of our best years, like where we're catching 200 plus muskies a year, were like 2018, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2022. Mm-hmm. More recent years where we're up there. So I don't know if it's just, when you think starting off in 99, people didn't even really know about vermilion.
Well, and
and a lot of these lakes and stuff like that.
Well, let's think about it, Jim. I mean, back then there wasn't even the map chip just got started.
Oh yeah.
The sonars have came so far up and above.
Oh yeah, I can remember a handheld Garmin. That would just have dots on it, and you're trying to steer towards.
I remember a water bottle with a lead weight tied to it.
Yeah. I can remember having to go to Canada and having to be close to camp to fish at night.
Yep.
Because there's no way you could find your way back, in that darkness.
Yeah.
And then when the map chips came out, we could go anywhere. It didn't matter. And we could get our way back to the frickin' island without it, without a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. It's pretty wild. Well, that's pretty interesting.
So I did my homework today for you.
You did
in between everything else, having to pick out the bottles. I was going to bring to the bottle share tonight. Had to take my dad to a couple doctor appointments.
Jim, you're a great son.
It's a hard life that I have.
You have a hard life. Yes, you do.
It is.
Yes, you do. So Austin, where are you going to be fishing at this year? Do you know?
Well, I'll be in Illinois until probably Wisconsin opens, and last year was, or this last fall after the PMTT ended, I fished basically, Geneva strictly in southern Wisconsin, and it was I kind of figured that with stocking year classes and really just worthwhileness to be out there, unless you're just the one guy out there trying to catch one giant from that first stocking class, that for guiding wise, this was going to be the first year that it was worthwhile. So I'll be on the Fox chain and maybe a couple other smaller lakes in Illinois until southern Wisconsin opens, and then I'll be on Geneva until either the water temps get too warm or the wakeboarders and recreational boaters send me to Minnesota, and then I'll be out in Minnesota for hopefully for maybe July, August, and midway through September, and then back to Geneva, because Geneva was eye-opening. It was I know that there was a handful of guys that I talked to out there that had a bunch of action and kind of struggled, but throughout the whole fall, I averaged over a fish per day, which was one of the most satisfying, feelings ever, because that is
sure.
In today's world, I feel like that's a tough average to do in guiding wise, unless you're on a really quality fishery. Plus, I've only spent 2 days out there prior to this past year. So it felt really good, personally, to have that be the way it ended up. But it's a perfect size fishery. It's a perfectly diverse. There's enough things that you're able to do throughout the day, and you're not really, forced to fish the same way as you would all day on the Fox chain, with very smaller lakes and minimal structure differences, you could say. and it was enjoyable. So that's kind of the game plan. Illinois until Geneva opens, Geneva through probably mid-June, late June, and then out west in Minnesota for probably. Well, actually, I really want to spend more time on Leech. Leech I fell in love with it. I would like to fish it outside of outside of tournament hours because it was fun. I like the big water, a lot of different ways to be able to fish and get the job done, and lots of fish. That kind of gets my gears turning. So between whatever central, if you consider Leech central and western Minnesota, that'll be where I'm at out there.
Cool. Well, that'll be that's awesome, man. Well, good deal. You going to be doing any of the muskie shows this year?
Yeah, I'll be at least at for sure Chicago between Mayhem's booth and Bomb Squad, and then I would like to do them all. We'll see where I end up after that, but I'm sure I'll end up at a few more depending on where people stick me or if they allow me to hang out in the booth for the weekend.
There you go. Well, right now
we always take help at the shows, so we will always take help at the shows.
I'm known to be a good helper, so I could possibly do that.
Yeah, I mean everybody will always take help at the shows, but guys, thanks for coming on here tonight. Like they said, we've got the Chicago Muskie Show coming up here towards the end of the month. We got the Ohio Muskie Show happening as well. We got the Chicago show is going to be going on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd of the month, and then following that is the Ohio show the 27th, 8th, and 9th. Also, guys, if you're in the Chicagoland area, I'm going to be speaking for the FRV Club, the Fox River Valley Club, on next Wednesday night on the 11th. You can find all the information out on the Fox River Valley website and also on their Facebook page, too. So if you're out, come on out and we'll chat up some muskies there. But, guys, thanks for coming on here tonight, and appreciate it. And, yeah, we'll be talking to you guys next week, all right?
All right. Have a good one, Austin. Have a good one, Greg. I'll probably see you next week then.
All right. Sounds good. You guys be safe.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Bye.